Today, we are taking a deep dive into one of the most ambitious national projects happening anywhere in the world. We're talking about Nepal's incredible strategy to basically leapfrog its development right into the digital age. This is the story of the Digital Nepal Framework. But this isn't just about servers and fiber optic cables. At the very heart of this massive national project is a really simple but powerful vision, summed up perfectly by the Prime Minister, using all this technology to create a prosperous nation and, most importantly, happy citizens. Okay, so let's get into the why behind all this. For years, Nepal has been classified as a least developed country, or LDC. But the government has set this incredibly ambitious goal. They want to graduate from that status and become a middle-income nation by 2030. Now, a jump like that, well, it requires a totally new game plan. And this slide really lays bare the scale of that challenge. I mean, look at the numbers. To graduate from LDC status based on income, a country's gross national income per person needs to hit over $1,200. Back in 2017, Nepal's was just $753. So to close that gap, the country needs to sustain an annual growth rate of 8 to 10%. That's a pace that old-school economic models just probably can't deliver. But here's the kicker, and this is what makes this story so fascinating. Nepal isn't starting from zero. Not even close. It's actually starting from a position of surprising digital strength. Internet penetration is already at 63%. And get this, back in 2017, a staggering 250 new users were coming online every single hour. The population is ready for this. This is the foundation they're building on. So the big question is, how does the government plan to take that digital momentum and use it to fuel its economic ambition? Well, the answer is the Digital Nepal Framework. Think of it as a comprehensive, government-wide blueprint designed to be the engine for this entire national transformation. And when I say comprehensive, I mean it. The framework is incredibly broad. It's targeting 8 key sectors: the digital foundation itself, plus agriculture, health, education, energy, tourism, finance, and even urban infrastructure. So this isn't some small, piecemeal approach. It's a holistic plan to remake the entire economy for the digital age. Now, before you can transform daily life, you have to build the bedrock, right? And that's where the first pillar comes in, the digital foundation. It's all about creating that essential digital infrastructure that literally everything else will depend on. And these are the 4 absolute, non-negotiable building blocks. First up, making sure there's universal internet access, treating it like an essential service. Second, rolling out a national biometric ID card for every single citizen. Third, enabling secure digital signatures for official transactions. And finally, creating a national cybersecurity center to protect the whole shebang. Okay, so that's the high-level plan, but let's bring it down to earth. What does this actually look like for everyday people? Let's look at some concrete examples of how these digital initiatives are designed to change daily life, focusing on 3 key areas: agriculture, health, and education. All right, first, agriculture. It's the backbone of Nepal's economy, employing most of the population. But for generations, farmers have often been at the mercy of middlemen, really struggling to get a fair price for their produce in what's a very fragmented market. So to tackle this, the framework introduces something called the e-Hot Bazaar. Just think of it like a nationwide electronic marketplace, connecting farmers directly with buyers across the country. By making things transparent and cutting out those intermediaries, the goal is super simple: put more money directly into the farmers' pockets. Next, let's talk about health. Nepal's terrain is absolutely stunning, but that rugged geography presents a serious life-or-death challenge. Getting emergency medical supplies, like blood or vaccines, to remote mountain clinics can be incredibly slow, and sometimes with the roads, just impossible. And this is where the solution gets really cutting edge. The plan is to use drones to literally leapfrog over those geographical barriers. These unmanned aerial vehicles can deliver life-saving supplies to clinics that would otherwise be hours or maybe even days away. It just fundamentally changes the game for rural healthcare. And finally, in education, there's this persistent challenge: the digital divide between the cities and the rural villages. So many schools just don't have access to the modern, interactive tools that they need to prepare students for a digital future. Which brings us to the Smart Classrooms Initiative. The plan here is to equip public schools with the essentials of a modern education: laptops, digital whiteboards, and reliable Wi-Fi. It's really all about creating a more dynamic, more engaging, and, importantly, a more equitable learning experience for the next generation of Nepalis. Now, these individual projects are truly inspiring, right? But they are all designed to funnel into one ultimate goal: driving significant, sustained economic growth that can lift the entire nation. And the economic stakes here are just massive. You can see it in the projections. Under a business as usual scenario, Nepal's GDP for 2022 was projected to be around $32.7 billion. But with the successful rollout of the Digital Nepal Framework, that number could jump to over $36 billion. That's a potential multi-billion-dollar impact driven directly by this digital strategy. And look, this isn't just wishful thinking. It's backed by some pretty solid global data. A World Bank study found that for every 10% increase in internet penetration in a low or middle-income country, you see about a 1.3% boost to GDP growth. This direct link between being connected and being prosperous is the engine that's powering this entire plan. But, of course, a visionary plan is only as good as its execution. Having a world-class blueprint on paper is one thing. Turning it into reality on the ground? Well, that's a whole other challenge. And the framework itself is really clear-eyed about what it's going to take. It identifies 3 critical enablers. First, you need a robust technology infrastructure. Second, you have to foster a vibrant ecosystem of public-private partnerships to drive investment and innovation. And third, there has to be a massive push for digital skills development so that every citizen can actually participate in this new economy. So ultimately, Nepal has crafted a truly world-class digital blueprint. The ambition is clear, the plan is comprehensive, and the potential payoff could change the nation. The big question now really shifts from planning to doing. Can the country pull together the strong governance and the sustained investment it needs to turn this incredibly ambitious vision into a prosperous reality?